If there was ever a prime example of a lazily thrown together asset flip, it'd be the original RE4's Separate Ways campaign. In this mode, you basically saw the events of RE4 Classic through the eyes of super spy Ada Wong. Original Separate Ways can be summarized as going through RE4, but backwards and sideways. It's just the same places Leon treks through in his side of the story. Well, except for an extremely out-of-nowhere shipyard where massive battleships shoot at a 115-pound woman. It's pretty weird and not very well made, unfortunately. Remake Separate Ways, on the other hand, feels like a full video game. A legit Claire scenario-style campaign for RE4R. I absolutely loved 4 Remake for its addictive gameplay and surprisingly well thought out story. So getting more of that in Separate Ways, you can probably guess I've got a lot to say. So sit back, relax, and listen to me gush about Resident Evil 4 Remake Separate Ways. So first of all, the game feels great to play. All of the new refined battle mechanics of the base game are here, just with a spy coat of paint. Combat still feels amazing like it does with Leon, but of course Ada comes equipped with her own tools of the trade. Her context-sensitive grapple hook now has added functionality in battles. Stagger a faraway enemy out of melee range? No prob, just grapple kick them. The passive buff charm system makes a return, but this time a specific charm, the classic Ada charm, allows her to pull shields off of enemies, making life so much easier. Saving your precious ammo, of course. These small elements add a really nice layer to the already fun gameplay.
Hey, stranger. So what are you buying?
You've picked quite the place to set up shop, stranger.
Aye, and look what it brought me.
I can't tell you how happy I was hearing this conversation. This is hard evidence that the merchant is a real guy and not a figment of Leon's imagination. I don't know, it's just so nice seeing someone talk to this man for once. Oh yeah, he still also sells you things. Merchant has some of the same guns that Leon gets, just customized for Ada. I just love how much of a crush the merchant has on Ada. He literally hides things from Leon just to sell to this dashing spy. Also, that one Ganado who steals Leon's jacket returns, and getting the jacket is actually a side quest. So the merchant just has Leon's jacket in his stash for the whole game without telling him. Ada still gets all of her unique guns from OG Separate Ways, as well as the returning guns from Leon's campaign. Her sawed-off pump-action shotgun and explosive crossbow decimate like never before. Ada's default knife acts a lot like Marvin's from the base game. You still got durability to worry about, making the added increase to stealth encounters more of a thing to take into consideration. To talk about that, we've got to get into the game's level design. So not unlike the original SW, you do backtrack and follow up on areas Leon has explored in the main game, but there's also so many new rooms as well. I mentioned something in my RE4R story analysis vid, where a lot of the locales had terrain and structures just out of bounds, and it turns out a lot of that was being saved for this here campaign. The way each chapter is paced and what they all present to the player is so varied and well constructed. You can expect about the same amount of exploration as the base game within each chapter. There are a lot of treasures, new and old, to find, and a few awesome secrets, again similar to things you'd find in Leon's game. It really reminds me more of the original RE4 with how wacky some of these set pieces can get one after another. But like in that game, it somehow all works. A lot of original RE4 things that were left out of the base remake story were carefully redesigned and re-implemented for SW. In the castle, we get a few forgotten moments back, like the big stone crusher things in the cave system near the castle's underground. On the island, we get the iconic laser hallway that has way more significance now, and the gondola sniping set piece makes its return towards the end, leading to the final area, which makes more sense with the game's narrative. Little things like the wine bottle painting room in the original is back, but expanded into a very cool puzzle room. Ada even gets her own run through the hedge maze now, where you have to find the classic moon crest key item am, which I may have popped off a little too hard for, and then obviously realized what I was doing and felt very embarrassed. There's an absolutely beautiful art gallery in the castle, which adds to Ada's spy movie energy. A few areas on the island see Ada skulking around the innards of the lab Leon travels through. It's really cool getting to see scenes with him and Ashley from different perspectives, and then re-enter those locations within a wall or dropping down from the ceiling. It's like Ada is right there with you as you play the main game. Enemy placements also change and are increased on professional difficulty mode, like the main game, adding a bit of variety to the replay. Like I was saying before, there are more stealth opportunities where you'll enter certain scenarios unseen, getting to actually decide what you want to do. It feels really appropriate for Ada and adds a bit of player expression and variety to the minute-to-minute gameplay. It's just so fun getting to play as Ada in this game, seeing her badass melee animations, tactical reloads, and ultra confidence taking down enemies while flying around hookshot in hand. I don't know, maybe it's because I didn't really jive with this characterization for Ada at first, that playing separate ways and seeing her do all of this really cool, effortless stuff made me remember who this character I've loved for years is. I don't know, Ada's just hella cool and hella cute too. Don't really know if the cute part is relevant to the convo, but oh well, just look at her. She's stunning. One thing that really stood out to me is the music of Separate Ways. Of course, a lot of the tracks from the original game return, but also music from OG RE4, and one of the Wesker scenes, weirdly enough, has RE1 music playing in the background. It's so cool. All of Ada's themes are featured in SW, and while I thought it was all remixed beautifully, I couldn't help but wonder where some of this stuff was for RE2R. Like, having Ada's original death song for the moment in 2 Remake would have hit so much harder than the thing we actually got, you know? But hey, I'm glad it's in this game, getting some kind of love. The surf guitar spy music you get when you reach the island is like the ultimate 007 vibe. I loved every note of this OST. Oh, also, one more thing. Original Infiltration is back, but it's remixed in Ada's aesthetic. It's so moody and atmospheric. Most of the base game enemies show up, like Ganados, Beastmen, Armaduras, and Novis. Some of the bosses return from their infernal slumber as well, like the Chainsaw Family, Garrador, a Giant, and a ton of Ada-specific bosses that all had me raising the roof in excitement. Alright, I'm gonna talk about spoilers now, so if you don't want to see or hear about any of the amazing key moments, skip to the time on screen, please. Okay. Let's do it. So believe it or not, Ada and Luis are an espionage power couple. For Separate Ways, Capcom decided to do the smartest thing imaginable and include everyone's favorite charming RE rogue in Ada's story more than ever. This game literally opens with Luis himself dancing flamenco. He's actually dancing to that amazing Spanish guitar track that we all heard in the teaser announcement trailer. I was kind of bummed that that track wasn't in the base game, but it turns out they were saving it for this moment, and it's perfect. If that wasn't cool enough, our intro to Ada is her disguised as one of Sadler's royal body bags, saving Luis from imprisonment in the castle dungeon. Right after teaming up, the slick duo get jumped by Pesanta, other U3 that we saw virtually disappear from Leon's game. Pesanta is Ada's pursuer enemy like RE2's Mr. X and RE3's Nemesis. During their opening confrontation, Pesanta manages to spray an infectious pus onto Ada, and the splash actually infects her immediately. Ada then begins to severely hallucinate, surrounded by blooming blue flames, seeing doubles and triples of the towering creature. I was so taken aback that not 5 minutes into Separate Ways, Capcom recontextualizes Ada's side of the story with discarded 3.5 concepts, like right away. It's so sick. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know I always bring up Capcom capitalizing on the old hallucination biohazard concept, and they actually do it in this DLC. We get 3.5 stuff in a game called RE4, an officially released product by Capcom. It's finally happening. Oh my god. This story has like 3 plot lines going on all at once, and they all feed into each other. Ada finding a cure for her infection, Luis flip-flopping on whether or not he wants to hand over the Amber, his life's work on the Plaga, and Ada being Leon's guardian angel. I was right in a lot of my predictions in my story video, but one I got wrong was Luis not wanting to give Ada the Amber. In separate ways, we get to see how desperate Luis really is when it comes to escaping the village alive. He's so conflicted after he meets Leon and Ash that he basically risks his own life every turn to save them. We literally get to see Luis hand over the Amber right before his end, but Ada can't take it from him because her own connected infection she got from Pesanta is accelerated in the presence of the Amber. It's like she can't focus while that thing is in front of her. Luis, being the crestfallen guy that he is, decides to whip up a suppressant for her as well. It's so cool how in this expansion we get even more Luis characterization that really strengthens his want to do good and make things right in a world that he helps to destroy with his time at Umbrella. It's just so great, but I've talked about Luis so much on this channel already. Go check out my story video if you haven't seen it. I'd like to say that even though this version of Ada wasn't really my cup of tea at the start, she's kind of grown on me now that I've spent an entire game with her. I don't know, her awkward, flat delivery reminded me of the Major from Ghost in the Shell 1995.
You want to get out of Section 9, is that it?
How much of your body is original?
Hey, are you drunk or something?
Easily remedied. Thanks to chemical implants in our bodies, we can break down the alcohol in seconds.
Honestly, once I noticed this, I had way more fun just imagining this game as like a weirdo gets game. I mean, Ada literally does have a cyber eye, so Resident Evil is cyberpunk now. Anyway, as you progress through the game, Pesanta stalks Ada more and more. The opening village town square boss fight was really cool to see. Having the fight set during the day contrasts so well with Pesanta's dark, shadowy figure. Something that I managed to piece together in my RE4R story vid actually happens in separate ways. Pesanta becomes the original RE4's U3. I knew it was gonna happen. The way Pesanta mutates in real time as she recovers looks so freaking sick. I'm really happy Capcom decided to fuse things together to make them more coherent for this game. Seeing classic Verdugo and U3 mixed together like this is horrifying. This boss fight was also really hard on hardcore difficulty my first run through. I love how cheeky the fight is, having phase 1 go down kind of easy, and then phase 2 is a nightmare. Capcom was like, oh, you want original U3? Here it fucking is. On the island, one of Sadler's most top secret labs is guarded by the iconic laser hallways. In and out of this place, you've got to survive these rooms. In this lab, we also get to face off against a brand new creature known as Martinico. This thing was once a deformed human being, who I can only imagine had the same mutation as one of the cult's giants, but didn't end up growing fully. This monster is fairly invincible, shrugging off all gunfire, tearing the place to pieces. In a stroke of genius, Capcom made the out-of-nowhere laser hallway the means to killing this thing, as we get an unapologetic QuickTime event where Martinico gets diced just like the first RE movie. The scene is honestly breathtaking. Why is Ada so cool in this game? I actually love her. Wesker also features heavily in separate ways, early on revealing he was actually close by on his own personally manned ship, keeping an eye on Ada's progress with her mission, ominously testing her loyalty to him. I was once again taken aback seeing this former STARS member in the flesh mocking Ada's struggle. It really reminded me of how Wesker acted in Code Veronica and Umbrella Chronicles, but this line almost made me lose my shit entirely.
I'm seeing quite the crowd here. I wonder what has them so riled up.
The president's daughter. Undoubtedly.
Couldn't have picked a worse time.
Consider the village infected. Complete local saturation.
This new remake version of the character is fantastic. Voice actor Craig Bernatowski brings a truly menacing energy that we haven't seen since Peter Jessup's rendition back in 2002. Wesker's outro had me flipping out. As Ada sabotages his plans in acquiring the Amber and blowing up the island, leaving no traces, he seemingly turns to a plan B he's had up his sleeve. As the game comes to a close, we see Krauser's covered body on an operating table. This really reminded me of Code Veronica, in which Wesker takes Steve's corpse originally and literally tells Claire that he's got plans for Steve in the future. Obviously, none of that ever happened in the series, but imagine if Capcom's plan is to revive Krauser, then remake Code Veronica, revive Dead Steve, then remake 5, and have zombie Krauser and Steve as Wesker's bodyguards, with brainwashed Jill Valentine being the nuclear option. Sorry for the potential spoilers, I guess. That's a conversation and a tinfoil hat theory video for another time. Putting all of that aside, Separate Ways is fantastic. There is just so much packed into this 6-hour story that I can talk about all day. But I won't, because I want you to actually play it and experience all of it for yourself. So after you beat the game, you can replay it, unlocking challenges and a lot of cute accessories and character costumes. Luis and Wesker's classics look phenomenal, but I wanted to spotlight Ada's reimagined classic dress. I feel like this should have been her remake default. Pairing it with her unlockable flashbang glasses from OG RE4 made me really happy. The combo that is my absolute favorite though is her RE2R costume, complemented by these very cute Bayonetta glasses. Ada is so cute. What the hell? Also, thank you so much for joining my fashion hour. It's been a pleasure. Also, I just wanted to throw this one in there. Leon's RE2R RPD uniform is actually an unlockable costume for the story mode through Mercenaries. If you can somehow S++ every stage with every character, you get to see this gloriously remade 2023 rendition of the RPD costume. By the way, the Mercenaries update is really fun too. No surprise there. They made Wesker insanely overpowered. He doesn't have a knife because he just parries everything with his bare hands. Also worth mentioning that his follow-ups and melee attacks literally have his Code Veronica after image effect. Maybe Capcom's trying to say something very specific with that. Who knows? But what I do know is that Separate Ways was $10 well spent. A single playthrough will most likely run you 5 to 6 hours, depending on the difficulty and your thirst for exploration. With the amount of unlocks available, you can easily put 20 to 30 hours into this. I'm sure S+ing alone will be another 30 by itself. Hey, anything to see Ada wear a cute cat ears and tail set, right? RE4R is one of my favorite games of this year. And this DLC, Ada Wong getting the spotlight she's always deserved, is like a dream come true, honestly. Small negatives that I still have, like not really jiving with the performance or getting more backstory about this character, kind of overshadowed by how well made everything is. I really hope going forward, the same amount of love, care, and tasteful fan service will be going into each RE title. But man, Capcom, please take a break from the remake train. Apply this godlike power to a brand new Resident Evil story. I'm ready to move forward or even explore the unknown histories of this game's world. How about an Ada Revelations game? Take her super polished gameplay and tell us a story of the human being hiding underneath the cold-hearted spy mask that she so often wears. Well, whatever comes next, I can only hope it's as good as RE4R and Separate Ways, because man, is it just fantastic.